For anyone who is planning for a working and holiday visa and want to stay longer than 1 year, whether you are on your first year and aiming for a second year visa, or just starting out and want to plan ahead, you might probably wonder, how long does it actually take to collect the 88 days? And where can you go and get it? Yeah, there is a lot of confusion about how to count this day correctly. The information from the immigration website can be really confusing and making it hard to plan your year. You might be asking yourself, if you work just 20 hours a week, is it enough to count for 88 days? Or do you need to work more hours? Because you might heard that some people only work for 20 hours per week and got their visa approved. Actually, I wonder the same thing. After spending days trying to understand the requirement, researching, and asking the question that often get unclear answer or no answer at all, yeah, I discovered a method that is safe to use to be sure that you have complete your 88 days. So in this video, you will understand the requirement to complete the 88 days. I will explain the hospitality job that you can do, as well as provide a Google Map link with all the eligible area for the hospitality jobs. I'm so excited to show you this one. And how long does it actually take to meet this requirement based on the job type and hour worked per week. And at the end, I will show you the template I create to use to track the hour effectively. So stay tuned and let's go. Okay, before I start this part, for anybody who is already working to collect their second year visa and don't need to know this kind of information, just feel free to skip this part and go to the next part. See ya! In order to extend your working and holiday visa to the second year, you will need to meet certain conditions, which you have to complete 3 months of specified work. So now, what is specified work? Specified work means that you need to work in a certain industry in a specific part of Australia. So the approved industry includes tourism and hospitality, plant and animal cultivation, fishing, tree farming, construction, recovery work, healthcare that is COVID-19 related. And you also need to check the approved area where this work can be done for each industry. So most people will go for the first two options, but in this video, I will be focusing on the tourism and hospitality industry. So for these two industries, the work will be around accommodation or food and beverages services. So for the accommodation, it includes hotel, motel, caravan park, and for the food and beverages, it includes like cafes, restaurants, or any service provided directly to the tourist. And also, the question that I commonly get is that, can you work in a retail? So unfortunately, the answer is no, because even though the retail is also like a service work, but it is not like in hospitality and tourism, so you cannot count the retail work towards your 88 days. For more information, you can find it in Tourism and Hospitality Jobs for Australia's Working and Holiday Maker Programs page, which I will put the link down in the description, so just feel free to see around. But here are some examples of the job that most people would do, which is like barista, kitchen hand, cafe worker, waiter, chef, or bar attendant. However, there are still more fancy jobs for a cool adventurer like you, which are diving instructor, bungee jump master, tour guide, and zookeeper. So you get to play with a koala and wombat every day. Maybe. I don't know what they are doing. Maybe they just feed the crocodiles. I don't know. But it's cool anyways. Now let's move on to my proud masterpiece, which is a map for a remote and very remote area in Australia for a hospitality jobs. So this map is here to help those who is confused by the list of postcode in the immigration website. So this map is done through my blood, sweat, and tear. But nah, just kidding. I just import an Excel file and just import it to Google Maps. So it should be good to use until they update the postcode. So I will put the link down in the description. Just feel free to use it for now. Okay, let me show you how to use it. You can select the state and see which areas are eligible. You can also switch to the satellite mode and zoom in on areas which there might be a potential jobs. So this map gives you a big picture of the eligible area, especially for those who want to explore and avoid popular and high competition towns. So when they say a remote and very remote area, they mean either in the middle of the desert or like a secret island. You might need a car or even a raft to get there. But for Queensland, the popular spots are along the Great Barrier Reef, and a lot of working and holiday people will come to the coast near there because there is a lot of job opportunities. I would suggest to look for the area near the coastal line and the island next to the big cities. For example, I found Port Lincoln by accident while creating this map. And when I zoom in, it has like a plenty of accommodation as well as food services there. But for someone who wants to explore the unpopular spot, you can also use my maps to see which area is eligible area. I hope it would be much easier than you just trying to copy and paste each postcode and just see that it is in the middle of nowhere. This is the reason I come to Cairns as well, because this is the only place I know. Yeah, so I hope this map might help you one way or another. But anyways, of course that the popular city will have more facilities and job opportunities. But just like I say, in case you want to explore somewhere else, feel free to use the maps. Yeah! So now that you understand the requirement, let's move on to the next part of how to count the 88 days. I will be focusing on how to count the hours for the hospitality jobs, which gets an awards rate. It's quite complicated of how can you actually find the criteria to count the work days. So let's go through the immigration website together and let's break it down here. So in the website, it says to be eligible for a second working and holiday visa, you must have carried out at least 3 months of specified work. And to meet the requirement for a minimum period of specified work, you must complete the same number of normal work days or shifts as a full-time employee in that role and industry would normally work in a 3-month period. Confusing, right? I have spent time analyzing like what the heck does this mean? I mean like, so do I need a full-time hour or like do I need to work more than 3 months in order to get the 88 days? Because I just want to know and plan like, how long does it actually takes, because at first when I was first coming to Cairns, I only get 15 hours a week. It's so hard for me to get a full-time hours here doing a hospitality jobs in the remote area. But anyways, so just to simplify that a little bit, so actually what they are saying is that to get a second working and holiday visa, you will have to do at least 3 months of the specified work, which this 3 months, it means 88 calendar days that you can also include your weekends or your rest day in that. But the main thing to remember is you need to work at the same number of hours as the full-time employee would normally do in that role in the period of 3 months. But yeah, just like I say, working in hospitality in a remote area, a full-time hour might be a little bit hard to find for me and for people around me as well. So you might be wondering if getting a part-time or a casual hour, would that be enough for you to just work for just 3 months or just at least get 13 pay slips even though you're just getting 20 hours a week? Would that be safe for the visa application? Because from what I know, some people manage to get their visa approved by only working for just 20 hours a week in 3 months. But here I will share the information I found and the method I personally used to count the hour as close to the immigration standard as possible. But big disclaimer, like very big disclaimer, the information I'm sharing is based on my research and how I personally count my hours. I am not a immigration agent, I just want to plan. So that's why I do a lot of research and just want to share it with you guys. So there is always a risk in your own visa application. Just make sure to verify the information yourself and adjust everything based on your specific condition. So according to what immigration website says, to meet the requirement, you can complete the equivalent of full-time employee workloads in several ways. The first one is working 5 days a week for a continuous period of 3 months. Second is to work less than 5 days a week over a longer period of 3 months. And finally, you can also work in a multiple short period of time. For example, you can also work in January and take a rest in February and continue working in March. But just make sure that all the combination adds up to the equivalent of 5 days a week over a period of 3 months. But here is where it's get tricky because you're not really sure how to actually calculate the workday based on the hour you get per week. Because of full workdays typically varies by industry, but it's usually around 7 to 8 hours. For the hospitality industry, I will use 6 hours as it is the standard minimum hour for a full-time employee in this industry. I got this information from the Fair Work website. I will also put the link down in the description. You can go and check it for your own industry. But here is where I get the information. So I just go into the website and then select my industry, which is hospitality. And sub-industry, I was working in restaurant and cafes. So I select that one and then show information for me. And then you can scroll down and see the minimum hours. So here the minimum hours here for the full-time employee is 6 hours a day. So I will just use the 6 hour as a standard to count for my own work days. So the reason I use the minimum is that I get so low hours per week. So I would normally use like just 6 hours to count it as a day for my week. It is the most feasible option for like me as a casual employee because like we don't really get as much hour as full-time. So basically, if you are working 24 hours a week and a standard workday is 6 hours a day, then you can do 24 hours divided by 6 hours per day. It will be equivalent to 4 work days for that week. However, if you work 12 hours a day, it still be count as only 1 day, not 2. So I use the following criteria to count my day, where the standard might be 6 hours for the hospitality jobs. So it will look like this. Also, this website I found is called the 88 Days. They also uses the same calculation as me, and they have a really good explanation about how to count the 88 days, as they also had the opportunity to discuss about this topic with the immigration department. So the following information from here, I will be referencing on what is being mentioned in the 88-day website. So on the website, there will be a section where they interview an immigration officers. Her name is Gail Laylor, and she is from Acting Assistant Secretary, Immigration and Citizen Services Group. The key point from the discussion is, to meet the 3 month specified work requirement, applicants must work for the same number of days that a full-time employee in that job would normally work in 3 months period. The work does not have to be full-time, but all working and holiday visa workers can count rest day as part of the 88 days. This means that you can include 2 rest days for every 5 days you have worked. And the key is that if your employer consider you to be working full-time for them, then the hours you get is generally accepted. So for example, from the immigration website, Maria works on a dairy farm milking cows. She works 5 days a week for 6 hours each day. So these hours can consider normal for this role. You see, they highlight these hours are considered normal for this role. Maria can count each workday towards her requirement. So yeah, if you are short in time and couldn't find a job that would give you at least 6 hours a day or 30 hours a week, just keep in mind that the reason the government set up this working and holiday visa at the first place is because they need a worker for certain jobs, which they couldn't get locals to do it. So as long as they get the work done, you have come to the eligible area working for a specified work, they get their visa fees. They wouldn't care too much about individual cases. Finally, I would suggest you to do as many hours as you could possibly find during the period of 3 months. But don't stress out if you are not always hitting 30 hours a week, because as long as you got at least 13 payslips, your visa application is likely to be approved. Because like after all the research, we don't really know the exact criteria the immigration department uses to grant our visa. So some people have been waiting for a long time while others get their visa grant automatically. But anyways, I never heard of anybody who got their visa rejected because they are working too few hours. So the most important thing is to try to work as many hours as you can and keep those records, like keep your payslips, keep your evidence. But I'm not here to say that my way of counting is 100% correct. But the main reason of this video is to just share what I have learned and how I personally count my hours. So for yourself, please always check the latest information just to be sure that you got everything right. So if you have any other methods or any other information of like how much hour you normally get in a week, or have you get your second visa granted by how many hours in how many payslips, just please share it down in the comments. I would really like to know, and I think a lot of people still concerning about these kind of things, so I would be really grateful if you could share. And yeah, just let's help each other out. Also, finally, I have created a Google Sheet I use for myself to count my hours. So the link is down the description below. And so this is the Google Sheets I used. You can actually input your starting dates here, and the dates will just run automatically for you. So, and this column is the column for you to put in the number you work each day, excluding the unpaid break. So in case you have 2 jobs, you can put the number for your first job and your second jobs here. So for example, I put 6 hours each week for working for 5 days. It will automatically calculate that you have been working for 7 days because these 2 is included as your rest day. But the most important thing is you should aim to have at least 13 payslips because this is the baseline and it is an important piece of evidence for your visa application. And the second thing is the total hours you work. I recommended aiming for more than 360 hours because this is based on the calculation of 6 hours per day, 5 days a week, over a period of 3 months. However, I also know people who have worked less than this and still got their visa approved. So, but personally, I will try to get my hours exceed 360 hours. And the last thing is here, the total, like counting total days. So ideally, you should aim for 88 working days because this number is like calculated from these following criteria, and you also can check all the references where I get the number from here from these 2 links. But I wouldn't worry too much if the total day do not exceed or reach 88 days because the key is to ensure that you have at least 13 payslips and would ideally aiming for more than 360 hours of work if possible, especially if you still have time left on your visa. Yeah, so just feel free to use this one. I personally use it for myself. This is my actual hours I got. So yeah, my first job is pretty bad. They only gave me like 3 hours per day, but finally I found my second jobs, and this one is like I'm going to holidays. But anyways, I got like more than 3 hours per week, 30 to 40, so I'm on the safe side now. But yeah, so actually I would summarize that it would actually takes time in order to get even like a job and even a decent amount of hours. But yeah, I wouldn't personally care too much about these counting total days because, you know, it's hard. Let's say this one, it's like just a little bit I'm reaching more than 30 hours. So yeah, if even though this my number here is not reaching 88 days, I would still applying my visa anyways. Yeah. So yeah, I hope the information in this video would be helpful, like all the tools like the maps and the Excel sheet. I hope it would be helpful for you because I know that it is really stressful when you are trying. Like, I know everybody has their plans, and it might be some kind of like stressful of like how to find a jobs, how to get your hours done, especially for the people who doesn't have time left that much. So I really hope that my information I made would help you in one way or another. And yeah, if you are wondering about how to find a hospitality jobs in the remote area, you can also check my previous videos where I'm talking about how I can find a jobs within my first week of coming to Cairns. And yeah, stay tuned, and if it is useful, please like and subscribe for these videos, and see you on the next video. Thank you, have a great ones.